One quiet morning in a suburban neighborhood, I was sitting on my porch, cleaning my old hunting rifle which I had inherited from my grandfather. The rifle was completely legal licensed and stored properly, but the sight of it was enough to set off the neighborhood busybody. Karen was the type of person who believed she was in charge of everyone around her. She patrolled the streets with her phone camera ready. She filed complaints about grass height, about trash bins being out for 5 extra minutes, and even about kids laughing too loudly outside. She called herself the protector of the neighborhood, but really she thrived on drama and attention. That morning she saw me carefully polishing my rifle, and immediately her face twisted into that familiar look of outrage. She marched straight over without hesitation, demanding to know why I had an illegal firearm on my property. I calmly explained that it was not illegal, that it was licensed and secured, and that I was simply maintaining it for my next hunting trip. I even showed her the permit and paperwork, but she waved it away, declaring loudly that she would have me evicted from the neighborhood. She shouted that firearms were dangerous and that she would not allow someone like me to put innocent families at risk. The irony was that she knew nothing about firearm laws, nothing about my background, and nothing about the fact that I was actually a decorated veteran, with years of safe weapon handling under my belt. I told her politely to step back and respect my property, but of course she would not stop. Instead, she pulled out her phone and started recording, yelling that she had evidence that I was brandishing an illegal gun. She threatened to call the HOA president, the police, and even the local news to expose me. By this point, a few neighbors started gathering around, curious about the commotion. Some of them knew Karen all too well and rolled their eyes, while others looked concerned. Karen took this as fuel and shouted even louder, claiming I was a danger to everyone around me. She even told one of the kids to step back as if I was about to go wild and start shooting. The ridiculousness of it would have been funny if it wasn't so disruptive. Within minutes, Karen was on the phone with the HOA board demanding immediate action. She told them that I had a stash of illegal weapons, that I was waving them around to threaten people, and that families were in danger. The HOA president, Mr. Collins, showed up, visibly irritated because this wasn't the first time Karen had dragged him into one of her personal crusades. He asked me calmly to explain. I showed him my hunting license, my permits, and the rifle itself, which was unloaded and secured. Karen, however, would not back down. She stomped her foot, screamed that the documents were fake, and accused the HOA president of corruption, claiming he was covering up for me. Mr. Collins had had enough. He reminded her in front of everyone that she had filed dozens of baseless complaints against nearly every family on the street, and that her credibility was paper thin. But Karen doubled down, insisting that if the HOA did nothing, she would call the police, which she promptly did. By the time the police arrived, Karen was acting like the star of her own reality show, waving her arms, dramatically pointing at me and shouting about an armed criminal. The officers, however, were calm and professional. They asked me questions, reviewed my permits, checked the rifle, and within minutes confirmed that everything was perfectly legal and in order. One officer even commented that the rifle was a classic piece and that I had taken excellent care of it. Karen was furious. She demanded they arrest me anyway, and when they refused, she began screaming at them, accusing them of corruption and threatening to go to the mayor. The police warned her to calm down or face charges for making false reports and disturbing the peace. But of course, Karen kept pushing. The crowd of neighbors had grown larger by then, and people started recording the scene, laughing at how ridiculous she looked. Some shouted back at her, telling her to leave me alone. One even pointed out how hypocritical it was that she claimed to care about safety, yet she was the one screaming and causing chaos in front of children. When Karen realized no one was on her side, she tried one last desperate move. She shouted that if the HOA would not evict me, she would sue the entire board for negligence. She stormed back to her house, fuming, slamming her door loud enough for the whole block to hear, but her plan backfired spectacularly. The HOA called an emergency meeting the following week, not to discuss me but to discuss Karen. Her constant harassment, false reports, and disruptive behavior had become unbearable. The majority of homeowners voted to sanction her and warned that if she continued her antics, she could face real consequences, including fines and even removal. From the HOA board, she had forced herself onto. Ironically, in trying to get me evicted, Karen ended up digging her own grave. Her reputation collapsed completely. Neighbors stopped trusting her and she became isolated. Meanwhile, I gained even more. Respect from the community. Many thanked me for staying calm and professional throughout the ordeal, and some even invited me to join the neighborhood watch group to provide real safety, not the fake drama Karen thrived on. Over time, the story of Karen versus the so-called illegal firearm became a running joke at block parties and BBQs. People would tease each other saying, "Careful, don't let Karen see your garden tools, she might call them illegal weapons." The phrase illegal firearm turned into a neighborhood meme. Karen hated it, but she had no one to blame but herself. What made the story even sweeter was when the HOA eventually forced Karen to step down from any committee involvement. They cited her pattern of harassment, her false reports, and the fact that she had wasted valuable police and HOA resources. Her downfall was slow, painful, and entirely self-inflicted, and I still go hunting every season. I still clean my rifle on my porch with pride, and I still wave to my supportive neighbors every time I do it. The difference now is that Karen stays hidden behind her blinds, peeking out with resentment, knowing she lost the war she started. It serves as a reminder that sometimes the loudest person in the room is also the weakest, and that truth and patience can outlast even the most entitled troublemaker. Karen thought she could take me down with lies and drama, but instead, she exposed herself to everyone as the true threat to peace in the neighborhood. The lesson is simple: when you try to destroy others with falsehoods, you only end up destroying yourself. That is exactly what happened to Karen, and nobody missed the chaos when her voice finally faded into irrelevance. And every time I see the dim, polished wood of my grandfather's rifle gleam in the sunlight, I remember that standing firm, calmly, and truthfully is the best way to handle people like her. Karen wanted me gone, but in the end, she is the one who lost everything.